Okay, at this time I'd like to recall to order the meeting of Suffern Central Board of Education for January 21st, 2020. Let the record reflect all board members are present with the exception of Melissa Reamer. The time is 8:03. Please rise for the pledge.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. My understanding is that we do not have a student report tonight. So, move right along to minutes of the regular meeting for January 7th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve? Dr. Shapiro, do I have a second? Dr. Nickpon. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 All those against? Any abstentions? 1.09. Acting Superintendent's comments.
Good evening. We have two presentations tonight during my opening comments. The first presentation is our enrollment projections, which will be done virtually with Barbara Graziano from Western Suffolk BOE. So it may take a moment to set this up.
Okay.
We may want to.
Yeah, I'm going definitely going to go.
If we're gonna, yeah. Hi.
Great. We're ready.
Okay. Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Barbara Graziano. I am the manager of school research and planning at Western Suffolk BOE, and I am here to share with you the results of the demographic and enrollment study that we have completed for the Suffern School District. So I will begin. I'll start out by just giving you a little background. The Office of School Planning and Research at Western Suffolk BOE has completed more than 1,100 studies since 1985. School districts in Nassau and Suffolk, as well as some of the Hudson Valley counties, Westchester, Orange, Rockland, Putnam, and so forth. Some of the districts in your area that we've worked with include South Orangetown, Nanuet, Clarkstown, Washingtonville, Pearl River, Warwick Valley, and Monroe Woodbury. I will, before I get into the specifics on Suffern, I'll just give you a little, a brief idea of what is involved in a demographic and enrollment study. We research the demographics of the district, and that would include births. We look at birth trends nationally, by state, county, all the way down to the school district level. We also research housing trends within the district. We obtain data on housing turnover and median sale prices from the New York State Department of Real Property Services. We also contact the local municipalities to find out what new housing may be currently under construction, or also find out about new proposals that may be for the planning boards. Then we look at population trends. We research census data to things such as the resident, and any change to the resident ethnic breakdown within the district, any change to the age structure, as well as a range of other household and socioeconomic factors within the district. And the last one is non-public school enrollment. We find out if there are any changes there, because of course that could impact enrollment. Then we look at enrollment trends in the district. And in the study that we've issued, it includes enrollment data, historical data for the past 10 years. And that includes migration trends from grade to grade. In other words, does the district tend to gain, lose, or just maintain students as a cohort move from, say, first grade in one year to second grade in the following year? And then the last one there, the birth persistence analysis, that involves analyzing the relationship between historical kindergarten enrollment and the number of births 5 years prior to each year. We then develop kindergarten birth ratios, which are used to project kindergarten enrollment. And these ratios take into account and reflect children who moved into or out of the district after birth, as well as children who may be attending non-public schools. These are just some of the resources that we use. We get a lot of our data from the Census Bureau. We also obtain data from the New York State Education Department, the New York State Department of Health, the New York State Office of Real Property Services, the National Center for Health Statistics, Pew Research Center, as well as local planning boards and the school district. I'm often asked about the accuracy of our projections, and I can tell you that overall enrollment projections produced by Western Suffolk BOCES generally fall within a 4% margin of error. You should know, though, that there are 3 categories of projections. The first being projections that are based on students already enrolled in the system, and these are the most reliable. The next category would be projections based on documented births, and these are slightly less reliable. And the last category would be projections based on estimates of future births, and these would be the least reliable. So therefore, the most reliable projections are generally those calculated for the periods closest in time, because of course, the further out you get from the year when the projections were issued, trends change, events happen, and so forth, so that as each year goes by, obviously the projections become less and less accurate and reliable. I'll start off by giving you some information about demographics within the Suffern School District. This shows you just basic population numbers within the district. As you can see, for the period 2000 through 2017, for the period 2000 through 2010, in almost 1,200 people, or 4.3%. More recently, between 2010 and 2017, population has remained stable. This slide shows you changes to the ethnic breakdown of the resident population within the district for the same period, 2000 through 2017. And as you can see, the population remains predominantly white, although there have been decreases in the white population in this period. In 2000, almost 85% of the resident population was white, and in 2017 that had decreased to approximately 73%. Correspondingly, of course, the minority populations have grown during this period, particularly the Hispanic population which has grown from 7.6% to approximately 13.6% during that period. And there have also been smaller gains in the Black and Asian populations as well. And this is reflected in, you see on the bottom box there, in the foreign-born population within the district, which for the period of 2006 through 2010 represented approximately 15% of the population, but that foreign-born segment has grown to approximately 18% for the period of 2013 through 2017. This slide shows you the ethnic breakdown of student enrollment within the district. And here we see similar trends. By that I mean a declining white population and a growing minority population. However, the numbers are different in that the percentage of residents in the white segment was about 73% versus student enrollment, which is 57%. Along with that, the approximately 13.6% of residents are Hispanic. However, 24% of the student enrollment is Hispanic. This shows you changes to the age structure of the population. Again, for the same period, 2000 through 2017. And if you look at the preschool population, which would be residents under age 5, that has decreased during this period from 6.6% to about 4%. The school age population, which is ages 5 to 19, has decreased from more than 20% to approximately 19.2%, and the young adult population has also decreased from about 25% to 21.6%. Along with that, however, the 40 to 64 and the 65 and older segments have grown, and this is something we're seeing in almost every market. And as you can see, especially the 65 and older segment has grown significantly from about 14% to 20% of the population. And this is reflected in the median age of residents in the district, which has increased from 42.5 years in 2010 to 44.4 years in 2017. Next, we'll take a look at school district births within the district. And if you take a look at the periods, the first 5 years shown on this chart, which would be 2004 through 2008, births were at a higher level, ranging within 277 to 306 births. That was followed by the next 5 years when births dropped down to a significantly lower level, where there were 211 to 240 births reported during that period. Then in the last 4 years, which is the latest available data, births have increased, but not to the level that they were during the first 5 years. During the period 2014 through 2017, the number of births ranged within 250 to 266. This shows you housing sales within the district for the period 2005 through 2018. And as you can see, early in the historical period, births peaked at 304 sales in 2006 before dropping down to a low of 174 sales in 2009. Since then, sales have overall increased to a peak of 373 sales in 2017. This shows you the trend in median home sale prices within the district, which for this period, 2005 to 2018, was at a peak of more than 500,000 in 2005 before dropping down to a low of approximately 345,000 in 2012. However, since then, the median sale price has increased, and it grew to 420,000 in 2017. As I mentioned before, we contact the local municipalities to find out about any new housing in the district. There were some smaller units being built that were reported, but these were the two large-scale developments that were reported on. Woodmont Hills, which initially opened in October of 2019, and that consists of 384 luxury rental apartments, all 1 and 2 bedrooms, and the projected student yield from that is 56 students. The Sheldon, which opened last July, that consists of 91 1 and 2 bedroom units. Next, we'll take a look at enrollment trends. To historical enrollment in Rockland County for the period 1998 to 2018. During that time, there was a peak of approximately 42,000 students in 2003, and subsequent to that, as you can see, enrollment steadily decreased, with a decline of 7.1% since that peak enrollment in 2003. See a similar enrollment trend in the Suffern School District. This is where the period shows this historical period 2009 through 2019, during which time there was a decrease of 650 students, or 14%. And we are projecting an additional decrease of 265 students during the next 5 years, or approximately 6.6%. This shows you by configuration historically, as well as what we're projecting, what the decreases have been. As you can see, the elementary grades saw the most significant decline during the 10-year historical period, with a loss of more than 500 students. The middle grades lost 134 students, while the high school grades remained stable during the 10-year historical period. However, moving forward, the boards move up through the system. And this slide showed you why students in 2010, but since that time has dropped off, and this year is down to a low of 189 students. We are projecting that for the next 5 years, kindergarten enrollment will range within 241 to 258 students. Some factors that will impact district enrollment are the district gains students in transition to most grades. The exceptions are 10th and 11th. Average losses are noted to 10th grade, and average maintenance is observed to 11th grade. However, it is noted that historically high migration ratios were reported this year to grades 4, 5, 7, and 9. However, as the district gains students, as cohorts move up, what happens then is larger graduating 12th grade classes are being replaced by smaller incoming kindergarten classes, so that there are projected negative displacements ranging from 90 to 155 students each year through 2024. And this slide will illustrate what I just said, in that it shows you, for example, through 2014 to 2015, the district picked up 72 students in grade-to-grade migrations. However, there was a loss of 127 students that year as a smaller kindergarten cohort replaced the large graduating 12th grade class. So there was a total change of minus 55 students that year. And as you can see, going across the net migration gains, again, the district gained students, and this year from 2018 to 2019, there was a large gain of 120, net gain of 128 students. However, there was also a large displacement because of the smaller individual combined classes. So in summary, enrollment has decreased each year through 2011. Decreases in district enrollment are projected to continue during the next 5 years. Enrollment in the elementary grades is projected to remain stable. However, losses are expected in the middle and high school grades as lower cohorts move up through the system. Gain students each year in grade-to-grade migrations. However, these gains will be minimized by the losses through displacement as larger graduating 12th grade cohorts will be replaced by smaller incoming kindergarten. So, any questions for me?
So first, thank you for all the detail and everything that you provided and all the work that was put into this presentation. Are there questions at the moment from anybody on the board, administration, anybody want to ask anything at the moment? I mean, I know it's a lot to digest. Okay, I have just a pretty simple question. Going back to the Woodmont Hills, the 56 student projection that you had, over what period of time will it take to actually achieve that?
I'm sorry, the projection?
You had a 56 student projection coming from Woodmont Hills.
Are you talking about Bert?
No, one of the new developments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I was just curious, what's the projection in years to actually realize that 56 students?
Oh, that would be over, I'm going back to that slide just a minute.
You passed it.
Anyway, that would be over, I'd have to take a look. I believe we were projecting that over 2 years.
Over 2
Because
years?
Not all the residents will be on day one when the development opens.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
What about the Sheldon? There were no projections whatsoever.
Not because that had, that was a smaller, B1 units, and it opened in July 2019. So we had to make the assumption that the greater number of whatever students there were would have been in the system already for the October data. And as far as how many students are actually living there, I do not have access to that information, although I would think the district would be able to have a number on that.
All right. Anybody have any questions at this time?
Woodmont Hills, those students will be going to Kilburn, and the Sheldon will be going to Connor
No.
or Viola.
No. Woodmont will go to Sloasburg.
Oh, sorry.
And the Sheldon goes to Viola. And there's about, last number I heard was, I think it was 8 from the Sheldon. 5 or 6 are at Viola, the others are middle school and high school. But some of them are internal moves. People moved from somewhere in the district into the Sheldon.
Okay, and pretty sure we have a copy of this presentation that we will add to board docs.
Yes,
So-
Barbara, if you can just, this is Lisa Weber, if you can just send me the most updated version, and then I'll put it on our board docs so our public can access
I
it.
certainly will. I will do that in the morning.
Thank you.
I mean, if there's no other questions, then, I mean, I'll just say thank you for putting this together for us. It's extremely valuable and and will certainly help us make decisions for our district going forward, so.
Are there any questions from the audience?
Doesn't appear to be.
All right, you're welcome. I hope you do find it helpful, and if you at any point have any further questions, please feel free to call or email me. I will be happy to address any questions that may arise.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
For the second part of my opening comments, I'd like to invite folks from Avon to come present. And again, it may take a moment to get the technology set.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Michelle Dory. I'm the head of facilities management for Avon. I'm very happy this evening to come to you in a more official capacity than the last time you saw me. I am here this evening with Josie Adams, our Vice President of Global Research and Development, as well as our site leader for the Suffern site. I also have with me Seth Mandelbaum, who is our land use attorney with McCullough, Goldberger, and Stout. Michael Katz, who is our real estate advisor with Actio Corporation. We have Mr. Lefkowitz, who's the owner of the National Art and School Supplies Company, and Mr. Gruber, who is with Rand Commercial Realty. We are here this evening to discuss our property at 37 Washington Avenue. We refer to it as our nail enamel parcel. So whenever I say nail enamel building, I am referring to that building. Just to give us a little bit of history on Avon. Avon has been in Suffern for over 100 years. It is the birthplace of Avon products. In 2003, this is just a more recent timeline. In 2003, when Avon was trying to decide what they were going to do with a very old building, they decided to renovate, and they made the decision to stay in Suffern. Again, as the birthplace of Avon, it was very near and dear to our hearts. We then entered with the school board, the village, the town, and the county, as well as the Rockland County IDA, a pilot payment agreement, which is a payment in lieu of taxes. So this encompasses our tax payments through the next, I believe it was, we have 5 more years on that agreement. Unfortunately, after the construction was completed in the Innovation Center in 2005, Avon started having quite a bit of financial difficulty. As you can see, as we get to the later years, 2016, Avon split their North New Avon LLC, which was the North America business, and Avon Products Incorporated, which is what currently still resides within Suffern. In 2017, Avon then made the decision to relocate the corporate headquarters to the UK, and also relocating a number of jobs into the Suffern facility. In 2019, I was also part of the sale of the Rye data center in Westchester. Also, again, moving some of those jobs to the Suffern facility. In 2019, we realized we really have some serious financial decisions to make, and Avon Global Real Estate team realized we have this big piece of property that is valuable, and they designated a nail enamel building as excess inventory, underperforming asset. It was pretty much just a warehouse sitting there where we had some storage, quite a few trucks coming in and out, not really being utilized to its fullest capacity. We also started discussions to be purchased by the Touring Company and to be part of that parent company. That in 2020, I'm very excited to announce that has been completed. We were actually the first in this century, the Touring Company, to go onto the stock exchange. And it's a very exciting change for Avon, and I'm very much looking forward to a lot of the new changes that are happening. But with that, we still have these corporate objectives of selling this nail enamel parcel. So that brings us to why we're here this evening. Before we get into a little bit more detail about the pilot agreement, I want to show you a little bit more about the actual facility itself. So advancing to the next slide, this is actually where we see, this is our research and development facility right here. It has a large parking lot attached to the very large state-of-the-art facility that we, for many years to come, are hoping that we are going to remain here. There's the railroad tracks right here, where I'm pointing to. Then there's another parking lot behind here that is attached by means of the sidewalk, if needed for excess parking for this building. This building here is right next to the Suffern Village Community Center. And then this is another large parking lot right here. So it just gives you a little perspective as to where we're referring to. So when we talk about the nail enamel building, it's this building here, and this is the main research and development facility that we currently reside at. This is the inside of the warehouse. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen, this is what it looked like in the beginning of 2019, and we've done a considerable amount of work in getting it cleared out, getting ready for purchase. So, taking you to this slide, you can see the subdivision was approved. So when we entered into the pilot agreement with the IDA, it was one tax lot. So when we went to our attorneys the earlier part of 2019 with this proposal, we said, okay, well, what's the first step? The first step was to separate the tax lot. You can't sell just one portion of a full tax lot. So we had to go to the Suffern Planning Board in June of 2019, and we were able to get approval to separate the tax lot. This now, the yellow portion is the main building with the main parking lot, with the secondary parking lot that's associated with the main building. And this here is the nail enamel building and parking lot, which is the second portion. So at this point in time, I'm going to pass things off to Seth Mandelbaum, who is our land use attorney, and he is going to tell you a little bit more about our pilot agreement and the proposal that we have to sell it to a third party.
Thank you, Michelle. Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for allowing us to present this evening to the school board. So as Michelle mentioned, there is this agreement from September of 2003. We're currently in year 17 of the 21-year agreement that the school board, school district is a party to, as well as the other taxing entities. And we thought it would be helpful to just sort of outline the pilot payments that are made. These are total payments. So this year up to year 17, the total tax payment for real estate taxes is $572,000 for the entire property. And based on early discussions with school district staff, even though a portion of the overall property is proposed to be sold, Avon has committed to keep these total payments the same for a smaller piece of property through 2024. In addition, your attorney, Mark Scharf, conveyed a request to me a few weeks ago that the letter of credit, which was originally posted for $479,000, the original pilot payment, be increased for the last 5 years of the pilot agreement, even though Avon has always met its obligations to pay its real estate taxes and do not anticipate any situation where there might be a default. Avon has agreed to match up the letter of credit to the last 5 years of total payments. So we thought it would make sense to kind of break this down a little bit for the current year, year 17. So the Suffern Central School District by far is the largest beneficiary of the total real estate taxes at 64.5%. The village comes in second at about 28%, and then the town of Ramapo and Rockland County are much lower. So of the $572,000 for this year, about $367,000 comes right to the school district. And further breaking that down, 15.8%, which is the land area of the Nail parcel. So it's about $58,000 attributable to that parcel, just based on land. It's kind of a simplified way of looking at it, but we thought it would be a helpful way of kind of breaking that down. As I mentioned, we're not asking to reduce the pilot payment by this amount going forward or for this year. And in fact, we're not asking to terminate the pilot agreement. This is an amendment to the pilot agreement, which requires approval from not only this board, but also the Suffern Village Board, the Town of Ramapo Town Board, and the Rockland County Legislature. So we understand that there is a proposal by the village to purchase the property. Of course, we had a contract with the village that had several contingencies in it, and those contingencies were not met. So that contract was terminated in December. But we do have a private third party, who I will tell you about in a moment, who is now under contract to purchase the property, again, subject to approval by all the entities, including this board, to amend the pilot agreement. So what are the benefits to think about for the school district? One, Avon is guaranteeing that tax revenue will not decline for the rest of the pilot agreement, since it will remain, the pilot payments, as I mentioned, will stay the same. More importantly, the property will automatically go back on the Town of Ramapo tax rolls. So we're looking at a floor of how much is currently owed, and that amount can only go up because that parcel can be then assessed as a taxable parcel, and there'll be a real estate tax bill going forward. You also have an investment in Suffern with the creation of approximately 25 new jobs and a financially sound, growing for-profit business with a similar use for warehouse and distribution. And though it's not listed on this slide, I would also like to note, and I'm very pleased to be able to report, that the purchaser has agreed to a restrictive covenant on the Nail parcel for a period of 10 years from closing, whereby they would agree to not sell the property to any entity that would not be subject to real estate tax. So what that does is really double the time period, because if we did nothing, the day after the pilot agreement ended, of course, Avon could sell the property to whoever it wanted. This purchaser, in conjunction with Avon in our negotiations, we made this a key part of the negotiations, having heard the concerns, particularly of this body, but from some of the other entities as well, about what would keep this purchaser from flipping the property to another entity that was not paying real estate taxes. That agreement has been reached with this purchaser. And the purchaser is a wholesale and distributor of art and school supplies. Their gross annual revenue is approximately $30 million. They're based in Rockland County. They have facilities in Muncie and in Rahway, New Jersey. In fact, one of their customers, as I understand, is the Suffern School District. Their customers are school districts and government entities. And really, they see this as a perfect opportunity, a perfect location to stay in Rockland, consolidate their operations. They were founded about 20 years ago. They've grown, they want to keep growing. And this is really a perfect site for them where they can have 5 or 6 UPS or FedEx type delivery trucks a day come in, 3 or 4 containers a week come in, they unload and ship the stuff out. And they also would be able to use a small office space in the facility. So it's really a perfect situation for this entity, and we believe really addresses the concerns we heard both from staff early on when we met with some staff over the summer, as well as some of the reasons expressed for not approving the amendment to the pilot for the sale to the Village of Suffern. So with that, just in conclusion, we're asking the Board of Education's approval to amend the agreement to remove that mail and ammo parcel, just around 16% of the land from the pilot agreement, allowing the IDA to transfer title back to Avon, because the IDA actually holds the title to this overall property until May of 2025, when the pilot agreement expires by its terms. And that would allow Avon to consummate the sale to this willing, able, private entity and to get this property back on the tax rolls. So with that, that's our presentation. Again, we really appreciate your time this evening, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have, and are hopeful that the board would consider passing positively on this request.
Thank you. Thank you
Sure.
for the presentation.
Yes.
Before I ask the questions, I just want to be clear that this is not on for a vote tonight. Okay?
Understood.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that you knew that.
That was conveyed to us by
Okay,
council.
good.
Thank you.
All right. Are there questions from anybody? Board, administration? Does anybody have, I mean, I have a few questions, but if anybody wants to go first.
Suffern Central will be getting a discount, I presume, on all arts and craft supplies?
That was not part of
I saw the hand go up.
I cannot speak for National Art and School Supplies. That would be a separate discussion, I'm sure.
It's on tape.
And it happened.
So, I have a few questions, and I think just the first one is for, well, it's really an Avon question.
Okay.
I'm just curious how many employees are currently housed in Suffern?
I do not know the addresses of most of the associates,
Well,
or
I mean,
do
how many
you-
employees
employees
are here,
employed?
work in that facility?
Right now, I believe we are at 230 Avon associates. With contractors and consultants, it's about 260.
Okay.
We do have the capacity for more. We don't know, again, what the future holds for us, and if there will be increases to that with additional workload.
Okay. So as far as being purchased now, being part of a new company, you don't really have any indication as to whether the number of jobs in that facility will grow or decline?
We are still at the very infancy of this acquisition, but our hopes are that absolutely it will increase and we will see a lot more associates. We've already hired quite a few this year.
And then in regards to the restrictive covenant that you referenced,
Yes.
can you just clarify that's a 10-year commitment? And is that a 10-year commitment where the purchaser cannot sell at all or cannot sell to a nonprofit?
Thank you, I will clarify that. It's 10 years from the date of closing. They cannot sell to an entity that is not subject to real estate tax. So that could be not-for-profit, municipal entity, a religious entity, education, any of the categories that are under New York State tax law.
Theoretically, the purchaser in year 5.5 could sell to a taxable entity, and that taxable entity could in turn sell a year later, or is that all, or is the 10-year covenant apply to any purchaser of that property for 10 years?
That is an excellent question. It's something we'd have to discuss with the purchaser, whether it would run with the land, as covenants generally do,
Okay.
beyond the current.
Purchaser will be on the land, not on the buyer.
Okay, so you heard there, sorry about that.
Okay.
Yes, the purchaser has indicated
Okay.
that they would
All right, thank you.
have that run with the land for the total of 10 years,
Okay.
regardless of.
So it could flip 4 times, and all 4 times it would have to be to a taxable entity. Okay.
Right, like an easement, it would just be part of the title and then run to the next purchaser.
Okay, thank you. And then and then this is not really a big deal, but I'm just curious. You said you have facilities in Muncie and Rahway. And on this slide, there's a mention of consolidation, so you're going to close those 2 facilities? And you're going to move everything here to the 30,000 square foot facility in Suffern?
Yes.
Okay, so you just have the one and you're going to, okay, that was just curiosity. Okay, that was all I had?
The company that's purchasing Avon, do they have an R&D building someplace else?
I believe they have multiple R&D facilities, as does Avon, but this is the headquarters for Avon's research and development, and from
They do not have
conversations-
R&D in the US, and they're
Right.
interested in the R&D. But again, it's early days post-acquisition.
Just
We're
checking.
still- They did come and visit us recently, and they were very impressed by our operations. And the company is that, the research that I've done personally, they don't have product lines like Avon does. They don't sell cosmetics like Avon does. So they're more body shop, Aesop, Natura, more of like body products. So they're looking to gain the Avon name and a lot of our the type of research that we do in the Suffern. So it was a very, very good move for Avon.
The analogy I spoke with Michelle about today was, I represent PepsiCo, and the land use work in Westchester. It's very similar to PepsiCo, where you have this umbrella global corporation, and then smaller, some semi-independent companies like Gatorade and Quaker Oats and Frito-Lay that are all under that big umbrella. It's a similar situation.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, I guess that's it. I guess that's all the questions we have. I mean, if anything comes up, I'm sure we know how to reach you.
Yes, please either have Mr. Scharf send questions to me or directly to Ms. Story. Because I'm paid to do so, I'm going to be slightly pushy and just confirm what council told me regarding tonight's meeting, which was that it was on tonight for a presentation, and his understanding was the board may consider a resolution at your next meeting on February 4th. So I'll formally request, as I did in my letter, that the board consider putting it on for resolution at your next meeting. That'd be much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're noting my request.
I am noting your request. Yes,
Thank you. I'll be in touch with council.
absolutely. Excellent.
Thank you again for
Thank
your
you.
time this evening.
Thank you for presenting. Excuse me. Thank you for presenting. Thank you.
You got it.
1.10, public participation. This is public participation for action items only. This will be a 30-minute period. Every speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. If you wish to not discuss, but if you wish to speak on any action items, please step to the podium. Please announce yourself.
Good evening, Matthew Logan, senior, Suffern High School. I just want to say that what I'll be discussing is mentioned in action item 2.13. I last spoke at the October 7th board meeting, which was over 3 months ago, discussing the struggling technological situation in the high school. Since I last spoke, nothing has changed. We still have our first generation Chromebooks that are literally falling apart, no student Wi-Fi, and overall inadequate and unreliable technology. As I mentioned last time, a video published on February 22nd, 2017 by the Suffern Central School District, a Suffern High School administrator claims we're expanding our Wi-Fi, so if a student comes in with their own personal laptop or their tablet, we want them to be able to access all their materials and be able to use those materials to further their education. This technology still hasn't been implemented in our school 3 years later. We recently hired a new director of technology. He came from Pearl River, which is one of the only other Rockland County school districts besides us that doesn't have student Wi-Fi, but they have implemented a one-to-one Chromebook program. Other school districts in Rockland County have had student Wi-Fi implemented for the past few years, including Clarkstown and East Ramapo, just to name a couple. Student Wi-Fi allows us to bring our own working laptops or tablets to school so we can get our work completed. We can do this for a $0 cost, as it has been previously been enabled for 1 week last year under our old technological leadership. In 5 of my classes, my classmates and I try to use the slow first generation Chromebooks, which are falling apart and just don't meet the standard for 21st century learning, as the district always advertises. Technology is imperative to learning, and this lack of resources impede on our lessons. It was promised to us in 2017 that these Chromebooks would be phased out, yet I've only seen an influx of all of them in my classrooms. All of the old, used Chromebooks that the younger students now do not need are coming up for the high school students to use them, or at least try to. Many students, like myself, are in honors and college classes, which require tons of hard work. Technology should not be another obstacle standing in the way of our success. Hopefully, under the new technological leadership, the students at Suffern High School will finally be able to have access to Wi-Fi and working Chromebook devices sometime this year. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak on action items only? Okay. We'll close that portion of the meeting, and we will move to action items. We have 2.01 through 2.15. Does anybody have any items that they wish to pull?
I need to pull 2.01, 2.07, and 2.12.
So 2.01, 2.07, and what was the last one? 2.1. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so let's use a consent agenda for action items.
Excuse me,
Yes.
2.14, please.
Sure. 2.1. Okay. We'll use a consent agenda for 2.02 through 2.06, 2.08 through 2.11, 2.13, and 2.15. Okay? So do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Move.
Mr. McKenzie? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cairns? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? 2.01. Do I have a motion? Mr. McKenzie, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Shapiro, any discussion?
No discussion.
No discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Mr. McKenzie abstains. .07. Do I have a motion? Mr. Shapiro? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. McKenzie? Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Mr. McKenzie abstains. 2.12. Do I have a motion? Mr. Shapiro, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. McKenzie, any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Mr. McKenzie abstains. 2.14. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Mr. Shapiro, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Donnelly? Any discussion?
No discussion.
No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
Mr. Donnelly? Any abstentions?
Present.
Mr. Cairns abstains. Mr. McKenzie, you are an aye.
Yes.
And motion passes. Okay. That'll do it for action items. Administrative reports is on here, but we don't have any. So we'll move to 4.01. Would you like to introduce this?
So 4.01 is the 20th anniversary of FLES, which is the foreign language in the elementary schools program here in Suffern Central, celebrating its 20th year. We have some of the teachers have been with the program for its entire time here in the district. And we have some new folks. So I'd like to ask the FLES teachers who are here tonight to stand up while I introduce you, and former FLES teachers. I see Senora Duke, Senora Hunter, Senora Camilla. Thank you so much for all you do currently and all you have done for the FLES program. And we have a video to share that was put together by our PR person, Jenny Mermelstein, and Rockland Bosies. And so this is the opening night of the FLES video. And so I'm going to move so I can see it on the big screen.
Again?
Yeah. It's only a few minutes.
FLES stands for Foreign Language in the Elementary School. In this district for the last 19 years, I've been a FLES teacher. We teach Spanish to grades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In third grade, we give them a FLEX Mandarin Chinese experience. In fourth grade, we give them a FLEX Italian experience. Fifth grade, French. Today, being a global learner is extremely important, so it helps children see there's more than just math and science. Language can take you places as well.
Benvenido a Mexicana. Ni hao. Ni hao.
The goal was to basically introduce young students languages.
La que repite, lanza. Lanza. I just had to learn more languages. Spanish, Chinese. I was really excited about that. Learning Chinese. Chinese is something they have sit at the end. And in English, we don't have that.
Este group of students have a wonderful sense of languages when they start very young, and they also have a respect for people who speak other languages. Regardless of what language the children choose at a later stage in life, they have a base of a second language, and Brain's research has shown that learning a second language improves academically for all students.
Soy una maestra de inglés aquí en Sherryland. We sing, we dance, we talk, we play games. It's really an amazing program.
We're practicing French.
Everybody gets to appreciate just one another. It's not just about talking to someone, it's really understanding the different cultures. When they continue their journey with language and when they travel to these countries, they're able to look back and say, wow, I started learning this in first grade. So many children, they don't have that opportunity.
Me llamo Fernando.
Students right now are learning Italian in 4th grade. We're doing a little exploratory so they can choose what languages they eventually want to take in the middle school.
We're trying to figure out what these words mean. Como se llama? It's like como se llama. We're learning Italian conversations. It's really fun.
At the beginning of the year, we asked why is language important, and they come up with a whole bunch of information as to why. Whether it's to travel to another country, whether it's to get into a college, to have conversations with friends.
My dad's Italian, and then I can learn to speak his language.
They do seem interested in it at a younger age.
At this stage, the kids are sponges, so to be able to give them all I can give them and make them not fear learning the language, to me is a gift that I give my students every day.
Because our students are exposed to language at the elementary level, what we see up at the high school are students that are very comfortable with the target language. It's second nature to them at this point, language learning. They're not afraid of the risk, willing to go outside of their comfort zone in order to make connections.
It's good to be bilingual because we can travel and do whatever you want, especially in the workforce.
For the 3rd year now, we've offered the New York State Seal of Right Literacy that provides students with a literal seal that goes on a diploma that recognizes their language ability, that they are now biliterate. This is something that we're trying to push as like a global initiative here at our school. So it's not just a high school initiative, it's truly a K-12 initiative.
21st century learning is about creating global citizens and learning about the culture of other countries and learning the language of people around the world helps our students to be global citizens.
谢谢 Suffern 学姐给我这个很好的经历。Merci Suffern Central pour aide-moi de apprendre français.
Thank everyone for their participation and support of the community. You know, those of us here in Suffern don't realize how special a program this is. Recently, across the river, there was a superintendent who won an award for innovation. And the award the superintendent received for innovation was for implementing a FLES program. And I said, wow, we've had one a really long time. So it's something I think that we're so accustomed to here in Suffern that we don't really realize how special it is. So thank you for all of you who have shown your support, the teachers who have just done a beautiful job with our kids, the kids who participated, and something we can all be very proud of.
Thank you. Great video. Let's thank Jenny.
Yes.
Wherever you are, Jenny, great video. Thank you. Item 5.01, this discussion item regarding lunch debt in the Suffern Central Schools. I don't know what.
Do you have the information that you sent us to go up on the board?
No, I don't have it to put up there.
Should I
I
suggest?
mean, I have a hard copy.
Let's move it to February.
Can we delay that until our next meeting so the community can see exactly in terms of what's going on with the lunch debt, as opposed to us having the information here, but people in the audience not really seeing exactly what's going on?
We can table this for the next meeting if that's what everybody wants to do. I mean, let's just keep in mind that next meeting will be the first budget workshop also, so could be.
Can I make one comment that has nothing to do with the specific information? I really want to thank our community for their generosity that, really started by the Suffern Police Department, wanting to make a donation to Connor to help erase the lunch debt. We had subsequent donations at Sloatsburg and at Montebello. We have a funding group that has caught on to this. And it's really spread the pay it forward aspect of this has really been amazing to see our community come and support our children. I'll add that it really caused me to think a lot and reflect over the vacation and really to think about the concept of food insecurity among our students. For some of our students, the best meals of the day they have are at school. And I think about how generous our community is and thinking about ways that I wonder how we can support struggling families beyond the school day with food insecurity. So I look forward to our continued discussion on February 4th. And
All right, great, thank you. So we'll table that for the next meeting. So public participation. This is public participation on any district-related. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Board member comments. All right, skip that. Anybody want to go first? Board member comments?
I'd like to propose to the board as well as the community that we really begin looking at creating a marketing committee composed of realtors, PTA, school board, businesses within the community. As you can see from some of the material that's been presented tonight, there is a growing problem in terms of a declining enrollment. One of the things that we have done as the board is we're going to increase the elementary level of a pre-K, having a full day and so forth, which is another way of trying to bring new families into the Suffern community. But I think we really have to do more, and the best way to do it, I think, is really to involve everyone in the process. That we have actually a committee composed of realtors, that we have communication with them to show exactly what the district is doing and what it's really looking to in terms of the future. Okay, with regard to fiscal responsibility as well as new programs, and obviously updating our technology that really we should be doing. But I think this is the Suffern School District really is the best thing in terms of this area. Okay, everybody's complaining about taxes and all other things and so forth, but maybe like the town and the county actually is really trying to do right now is to bring people together and share communication. One of the best ways we can do this is actually bring in a committee composed of various groups within the community, working with the school board to really highlight exactly what goes on here. How many planetariums do you have in Rockland County? Do you know?
3.
2. Okay? But you know what? There's so many other things that we have. Let's try to showcase them for the community and for the outside people also coming in, so that when there are new millennials coming into Woodmont or even the Sheldon, okay, they'll say, well, this is the great place to start our children in the process. And once you have them in that process, to show them how the school system works and everything that goes with it, whether it be our sports programs, our cultural programs, or any other program that we have, okay? So, including robotics, okay? As you probably know. But anyway, I think it's worthwhile to discuss, to let you know that this is what we should be doing as a community, not just simply as a school board.
All right. Thank you.
I wanted to thank the Western Suffolk BOCES folks and Avon for coming and presenting tonight. The information was very thorough and helpful. I'd like to ask folks in the community to please support the Suffern Middle School PTA at their Designer Bag Bonanza on January 24th. The proceeds go toward the cultural arts programs and inspirational speakers that come to the school and anti-bullying campaigns. Ticket sales end tomorrow, and there is about 40 tickets left. I'd like to say congratulations to Ms. Furco on her retirement. She's a phenomenal teacher, served at Cherry Lane. Thank you for your service. And to the new appointees, congratulations on your new positions. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I'll just mention two quick things, just two quick dates. I know I mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. Our next meeting on February 4th will be the first meeting that will have our budget workshop. So we'll be starting the budget season in 2 weeks, and that's really going to be the kickoff for where we go. And Mr. Smith is, I'm sure, already working diligently on putting the presentation together for us. And the second thing I want to mention is we'll be having a strategic planning meeting on Monday, the 27th of January, so that's from yesterday. That'll be here in Hilburn at 7 p.m. And I'm sure that, you know, the large majority of what we'll be discussing and the information we'll be using will be what was just presented to us from Western Suffolk BOCES. So just wanted to put those two dates out there. Now public participation for non-action. So this would be anybody that wishes to speak on any district-related matters, please step to the podium. We'll have a max of 3 minutes. And please refrain from mentioning any district staff or students.
Hi, my name is Melissa Cooper, for anybody who doesn't know me, and I'm the nurse at Montebello Elementary School. One thing I want to ask the school board to think about in planning for next year's budget. I know you do a lot of programs in middle school and high school on diversity and anti-bullying. I think you need to start a little earlier. The elementary school children need a little more work on tolerating differences and learning to get along. I think, you know, that we have them at a critical age there between 5 and 10. And I think by the time they're at the middle school, a lot of those bullying traits are already well embedded in these kids. As the nurse, I spend a lot of time dealing with crying children, stomach aches that aren't really stomach aches because they don't want to go back to class because they're afraid that someone's going to say something. You know, that whole aspect of emotional somatic complaints related to that aspect of school life. And it keeps them out of the classroom, and it keeps them unhappy, and it keeps them from learning. And I just think that it's an area we need to put a little bit of emphasis on going forward. So I just ask you to think about looking for a little fundage now that we have guidance counselors for elementary schools. Maybe that's somebody who can start implementing some more programs for them. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, we will close that portion of the meeting. Acting Superintendent's closing comments?
Pretty much shorter, I promise. I want to congratulate a number of our sports teams. Are having terrific winter seasons right now. I encourage you, if you haven't been out to a game, get there. They're really fun. I am having my Wellness Wednesday on the last Wednesday of the month at the basketball game. But basketball, hockey, wrestling, swim and dive, gymnastics, get there. They're really fun. Also, our 8th graders today were visited by the guidance counselors from the high school. And tomorrow night, we will have the 8th grade orientation for the parents of the 8th graders. You're looking forward to that, aren't you?
I can't wait.
All right, that's it.
All right, thank you. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn back to executive so we can wrap up upstairs?
We're not coming back.
No, we are not coming back down. No, we have one item left for executive to finish, and that's it.
Wherever returned.
So do I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Shapiro, second. Dr. Nick Pond. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much.
All right, Dan, thank you. Yes.
I hope he gets a better next year. And I know you. I've been there 20 teachers and programs for 2 years. And I'm like, listen, I spoke to Eric Brazil. I didn't have
Nice to see you.
he was telling me about the elementary school. That's now you're coming to high school. Sorry. our school is using Wi-Fi without the district knowing. So now when you're dealing with it, if we have student Wi-Fi, there's going to be a much easier way to monitor it. Because we know now there's teacher username and password circulating around the district, which you really don't want in an email. Like, you know, I'm here, I'm on district Wi-Fi. We all are. And it's like, well, you know, yes, I can bring my own device, I bring my own app to school every day, but we shouldn't have to. There should be Chromebooks, and if we are, we use our own network. For security, you know, you're looking at the security purposes, and you're also looking Listen, it's not like, you know, I was just talking to Eric, he's saying everything. I know. Well, there's also a lot of people though that break guns and stop.